Prove me wrong, but one of the most unique Space Marine successor chapters in all of 40k is the Lamenters, a chapter best known for their haunted luck and cursed history. Unlike normal successor chapters that usually follow a theme connected to some type of battlefield role or a historical culture from ancient Terra, the Lamenters are distinguished as a chapter with terrible luck. This chapter is one of the only ones that takes this perceived phenomenon and weaves it into the lore of the Lamenters, creating a truly memorable story. I don't even like the Lamenters color scheme or their battlefield tactics, but it's still one of my favorite chapters. Tragedy seems to follow this chapter, from being fooled into fighting against the Imperium during the Bad App Wars to almost being destroyed by the Tyranids. This disastrous history goes all the way back to their origin, as the chapter was part of the Cursed founding in the 36th millennium. They were one of many Space Marine forces that suffered from various calamitous events at that time. And while we covered this history in a previous video, the lore of the Lamenters does deserve a refresher on this channel, because the old lore video kinda sucks. While I work on that, I did want to showcase a great fan story created by Zachary Strupp, an amazing writer and a fan of the channel who wanted us to share his story. You can find his work on his website filthyhorrors.com, which I'll link in the description below, and while you're there, check out his other great stuff. If you guys have your own fan-made stories that you guys would like to showcase on the channel, just shoot us a message either on Instagram, Twitter, or here on YouTube, and we'll gladly create a video for you. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and most importantly, give us feedback in the comments below. But with all that said, let's get into the story written by Zachary Strupp, Brotherhood of Tears.
To me, Darius.
His brother captain's voice crackled over their private Vox channel. He tried to respond, but the storms that the heretics had summoned were disturbing communications. A miasma of psychic energy pulsed around him as he searched for his battle brothers. All he found was a hurricane of whispers in pink and blue. It would have been beautiful if not for the taint of corruption. Darius's power armor protected him to a point, but he could still feel it. Minuscule particles of the shimmering dust penetrating the grill of his Mark IV helm. It tasted like nightmares. Darius stared down the sight of his bolter and let loose a 3-shot burst as a demon of Tzeentch leapt through the wall of dust. The creature was half the size of an Astarte. Its squat body was a gaping maw that spit fire the color of children's wishes. Darius kicked it aside and ran deeper. He needed to find his brothers. They had arrived on this feudal world too late. Their Thunderhawk gunship had been swiped from the sky by the winds of magic. He'd only come to a few minutes prior, but by then they were all gone. Darius had fought his way through dozens of cultists and demons, but there had been no sign of his brothers.
Come meet death, heathens.
The words were followed by the booming rhythm of an autocannon. Darius ran over the hill and saw Brother Captain Aurelius Tristis stomp the head of a cultist into the sand. His commanding officer was an intimidating figure. His dark yellow Terminator plate stood 10 feet in height, dwarfing even the stoutest Space Marine. He bore the heraldry of his chapter on his right shoulder plate, a bleeding heart on a bed of checkered black and white. The Brother Captain spun on him, leveling the autocannon in his direction.
You heard my call, brother.
Aurelius bellowed. The red-eyed lenses of his helm dimmed as he lowered his weapon.
Where are Constantine and Velios?
Darius asked.
I have not seen them, but it's a blustery day. Have you not noticed?
Aurelius was odd for a member of their chapter. Lamenters were not known for their sense of humor, and yet Aurelius tried.
They are most likely dead.
That was more like it. Darius stepped beside his commander and surveyed what little he could see. The ground was littered with dead. Aurelius had been busy.
What are your orders?
Darius was hopeful that the answer would not be what he expected.
We kill as many as we can. We live to serve. We die in service.
He threw the autocannon to the ground and pulled his two-handed power sword from its sheath. The Birth of Sorrow was an ornate curved blade the length of a standard human. It was black as night, and when its power cells activated, it glowed like an ocean of stars. It is said that it was claimed after a great battle with a long-dead Xeno race, but Darius had never cared much to investigate further. The weapon made him uncomfortable. It radiated sadness.
For the Emperor,
Darius said. His voice was low, weighed down by the fulfilled expectation.
For the Emperor.
Aurelius roared into the sky. Then he calmed. He looked down at Darius.
Fret not, brother. For those we cherish, we die in glory.
It had been over a century since they had thrown their lot in with the Astro Claws. A century in the warp fighting the forces of chaos as recompense for standing beside the only chapter that showed them their due respect. There were so few of them left. Darius wanted to fight, wanted to prove his loyalty, but but he also wanted the chapter to survive. The whispers in the wind grew louder. Something was approaching. Darius steeled himself. He threw his bolter to the ground and freed his chainsword from his hip.
From blood born to blood evermore consigned. That is why I always appreciated you, Darius. You honor the old ways.
Suddenly lightning struck the ground in front of them, knocking Darius off his feet. Aurelia staggered back a step as the enemy force emerged. They were surrounded. Cultists, demons, and abhuman wretches closed in all around them.
Brother, we need not fight.
A sickly voice came from above. Oberon Talikos descended from the sky. He rode a disc of purple flesh. The thing wiggled and slurped as the tentacles around its base slapped the sand. Oberon oozed corruption in an aura of greenish blue. His armor was a midnight plate trimmed in gold. The trim extended into needle-like spines all around him. He wore a kilt of living eyes that lolled in their cloth prison. His helm had mutated into the appearance of a raven. Its eye lenses pulsed with blinding luminosity as its ceramite feathers twitched.
You are a heretic, Oberon.
Aurelius boomed.
You will face the Emperor's justice. After all your chapter has faced, you still cling to that withered corpse. The Imperium betrayed you, murdered your brothers, and cast you out into the war. As the Emperor burned Prospero, so did he burn you. Join us, brothers. My God is generous. He will change you. He will turn your despair into something else. We are not your brothers.
Aurelius charged, his blade leveled at the heretic's beak.
Fool.
Oberon flicked his hand in the brother captain's direction. Lightning leapt from his fingers. The cords of dancing energy lashed Aurelius' shoulder, licked at his chest and caressed his back. His armor sizzled, darkening from mustard to black as the righteous champion fell to his knees dead.
No!
Darius screamed and ran at the sorcerer. A lash of energy bolted towards his chest. Instincts threw him to the ground in a somersault. Lightning struck all around him, but he dodged it effortlessly. His rage was pure. He could feel the light of the Emperor upon him. Fiery lashes seared gouged in his armor. The pain was excruciating, but he was undeterred. He jumped at Oberon and spun, bringing his blade down upon the enemy. The sorcerer materialized the staff in his hand to block the attack, but Darius was clever. The snarling teeth of his chainsword missed the staff by a breath, and the last Lamenter dropped his weapon into the disc of Tzeentch. The creature screamed, bucking Oberon onto the ground. The scream was like needles massaging Darius' senses. He dropped his sword and clamped his hand over the side of his helmet. His battle plate should have been able to mask the cry, but it couldn't keep up with the rapidly changing pitches. The noise was every horrible memory from Darius' life. Every failure, every betrayal, every misspoken word, it all flooded into him. He fell to the ground convulsing.
You have potential.
Oberon lifted himself from the ground with a snap of his fingers.
It would be boring for you to find peace in death.
The sorcerer's staff evaporated, and he held his hand over the Lamenter. Words flowed from his throat that made Darius' skin ache. He was being suffocated by the power the heretic had invoked. A black pool formed underneath him. It was cold like the void. Darius' power armor was useless against its pull. His chest plate groaned and cracked as the cold embraced it. He clawed to Aurelius and pressed his helmet against his fallen brother's.
I have failed you, my friend. Touch it. Know this, slave of the corpse. When your guilt has bled you dry, when you have nothing left, not even your beloved melancholy, I will find you. On that day, I shall kill you, Darius Sparrow.
The dark pool beneath Darius shattered like an obsidian mirror. Darius felt the rush of great height as he descended into the abyss, but heard nothing. The speed of the fall was immense, but there was no sound of turbulence or roaring crosswind. The G-force of his descent increased, and he felt his consciousness wane. Just before he joined the darkness, he saw himself in the throne room of Terra. He was resplendent in golden armor, the heraldry of his legion all gone, replaced by symbols the likes of which he'd never seen before. Darius wanted to call out, to ask what it meant, but it was too late. Darius was gone. And that's the Brotherhood of Tears. I hope you guys enjoyed this fan story. Like I said, I'm going to be putting a link down in the description below to Zachary's website. There you'll find like other books that he's written, so if you kind of like the style of writing, check it out. This isn't paid advertising or anything like that. Like, the reason that I'm posting this is because I really enjoyed the story. When he first contacted us on Instagram, he sent us a link to his story, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll read it. I didn't expect I'd like it that much. The way he described the etheric powers of the warp was just like he understands. Like, when he said it tasted like the dreams of children, like the little like smoke or basically the warp storm that was going around Darius, our brother Darius. That instantly got me hooked. And then the way he described like all the other things, I was just like, yep, like this is 40K. So I wanted to showcase that to you guys, or show it to you guys, and really just so that we could appreciate how the story is like well put together and everything. If you guys have any fan stories that you guys would like us to showcase on the channel, let me know. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or here on YouTube. I don't really go on Facebook all that much. Just one of those websites that I feel like, what's the point of Facebook nowadays? But Instagram, I'm there for sure, and Twitter every now and then I visit. So just hit us up there. If not, like I said, here on YouTube, maybe we can work something out and we can figure out a schedule to post whatever fan stories you guys come up with, because it was really awesome. Zachary and the whole channel is more towards horror, so it's perfect because it's Halloween. So if you guys want to get into the mood, again, go to his website, check it out, read his story or his stories, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Now, I do want to move on to the question and answer portion of these types of videos. So I'm going to be answering some questions that you guys left off in the last 40 Facts video. This is the 40 Facts and Lore on Orc Speed Boss Nargrim. It's a pretty cool story. It's similar to this in that it's not really like a traditional 40 Facts video where I just tell you facts about like the Speed Boss. It's actually a story of Speed Boss Nargrim going up against a competitor orc, a Beast Nagaboy, or like a leader of a Beast Nagaboys. I don't really remember what they're called. But yeah, it's so check it out if you guys want to. I'll put a link up above. But let's get into the questions, and if you guys have questions for me or anything like that, just comment down in the comment section below, and we'll talk about it in the next 40 Facts video. So this question comes from J-Day. Have orcs ever been known to repurpose parts of Space Marine armor into their own, or Dreadnought armor plates into Death Dreads? Maybe a fun kit bash? Yeah, of course. That's very common. One of my very first kit bash models was Orc Boys, and then I would just put Space Marine shoulder plates on them, and they were my Ard Boys. I still play them today. So yeah, that's I think that's a very like traditional and standard kit bash thing that most newcomers to like the orc kit bashing hobby do. They take their Space Marine stuff and then they kit bash them into orc stuff. Next question comes from Green Bahi. The chick is called Lotara Sarin, and you should check her out as she's one of the most badass women in the universe. She may not have much existing lore-wise, but it's worth checking out. Yes, that's the person. So there was a person that Angron trusted and felt like connected to, and it was a mortal woman. She was a captain of Angron's flagship, and her name was Lotara Sarin. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but yes, thank you. Next question comes from the big one. My homie Stabby is in the joint until 2026. What's the best type of 40k lore to cheer him up while he's jailbird? You could check out our daily life on a penal world, and then hopefully he'll see how he's better. I mean, prisons in 40k are way worse than prisons nowadays. But yeah, so you have the penal legions, you have penal worlds, and then just any type of Necromunda, like Hive Gang type of lore. I'll put a link to a playlist that we have up above for that. Next question comes from Bullet Magnet TV 20. Looking forward to seeing more potential content for Shaimundus in November. Could you combine the battlesuits with Cataphron Breachers or Destroyers, mounting battlesuit limbs to the Cataphron torso and fielding it as a battlesuit? Keep up the great work. Thanks for the suggestion. Yes, I can. However, I want to play the Cataphron Breachers, and I feel like if I use that box to kitbash these battlesuits, I ruin the Cataphron Breachers. And for all those that don't know, what I'm doing is I'm taking a Tau army and I'm kitbashing and homebrewing to make it a Skutari Guevesa Tau army. I have a playlist on it. It's like a whole lore thing that I was doing like a month or two ago. And I'm stuck on kitbashing battlesuits to make them look more Skitari-like or more Adeptus Mechanicus-like. And yes, using the box from Cataphron, or the Cataphron guys, yes, I can do that. But then I waste $50. And it's going to end up being 3 models that are going to be worth like $120. And really, they're not going to play all that great. So if I can maybe somehow figure out how to do molds of the Cataphron Breacher parts, then maybe I'll be able to do that. But we'll see what happens in November. Next question comes from Doomy330. Oh, and thank you for the suggestion. That does really help. Is there any specific instance? It helps in the sense that like I feel like that's the only way that I'm going to be able to kitbash the battle suits. Because I thought about that, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to spend that much. Anyways, Doomy330 says, is there any specific instance in 40k of any 2 characters having a deep romantic connection? I think it was a deep romantic connection. That's a good question. No, I don't think so. Not that I can think off the top of my head. Let me think. Yeah, no. And that's a good thing. Like, I think romance in most stories kind of ruins the story for me. So us not having like super romantic like stories and focusing on the grim darkness is the way that the trajectory of the lore should go. I remember I started watching what's the zombie TV series, the Walking Dead, and I couldn't keep watching first season because they focused too much on that love story between the husband and wife and how there's another guy, and I was like, that's bullshit. I just want to see zombies get killed. But yeah. Next question comes from Latin White G. Latin and White G. The salamanders were almost wiped out 4 times. First in the Unification Wars, then the Orcs when Vulcan reunited, 3 massacres, then Dragon War, Civil War. Then they became a true legion of old. Officially, the salamanders in the current setting are the only true reformed legion not bound by the Codex. Yep, we have a couple of videos on that too. I was actually searching for the Tempestus Galleries, or the Assault on the Tempest Galleries, which is the very first time that the Salamanders chapter was almost destroyed, and I couldn't find it. If you guys can find it for me, can you guys share it? Funny enough, like, I looked it up. I looked up by Salamanders. I looked, like, I have clear memory, like, redoing that video, and all I could find was the old video, the shitty one. So yeah, but yeah, we have Salamander lore on the channel. We have a playlist for it, and yeah, a lot of the stories, or a lot of the battles that you mentioned, we've created a 40 facts video for. Next question comes from Wes Brown. Are orcs faster than Dark Eldar? They can be, yeah. Dark Eldar, like, not combat-wise, but speed, like, in terms of, like, their vehicles and stuff, they can be just as fast, just not as reliable. Because the Dark Eldar, the whole thing about the Eldar lore, this isn't just Dark Eldar, is that when they move, it's like a blur to humans. They just have a heightened sense of everything, so they move in an alien form, whereas the orcs don't do that. The orcs are very brutish and, like, aggressive and very, like, you can tell what they're gonna do because they whine back and then they do the whole thing, whereas the Eldar and the Dark Eldar are quicker to humanize. into like the way humans evolved to perceive movement. So in that sense, the orcs are not faster than Eldar, but when you have like a war trike versus an Eldar speeder, I forget what they're called. Yeah, they're about the same. And then next question comes from E. Chamby. Do you have a video on Tusca the Demon Killer? I think we do, but it's an old one, so it's probably shitty. I'm gonna do one for October, and I'm gonna kitbash my own Tusca the Demon Killer. The motto is right over there, so I've been working on that for a while. We'll see when it gets posted, sometime this month. But yes, I've been working on that. Next question comes from Morbarris. Love the orc accent, but I'm hearing a lot of mouth sounds. Yeah, my spit. Funny enough, the orc sound was the same as the Space Marine sound. If these videos continue, like if I continue making these types of like stories, not so much just like 40 facts videos where we talk about the lore, I might try to figure out how to improve that in terms of editing voices and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, those were the questions for today. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Like I said, check out his website down in the description below, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. This was Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate signing out.